years, it's funny how it's ever new and it stays the same all at the same time. It's both. There is a feeling, a point of being touched in our being that we each feel uniquely, but collectively, through our relationship with Master. I remember the first time I read Autobiography of a Yogi, I felt it immediately. And it's never been different, and yet it's been ever new. It's deepened. My ability to perceive it has deepened through God's grace, through Guru's grace. But that same feeling was there in that very first moment. Not every disciple feels that, of course, in the first reading, but it was my good fortune, my blessing to feel that. And then when I came to Ananda, of course, before I came to Ananda, I didn't know anybody else who knew of Master, who knew of this incredible touching that I have felt, and I had no one to share it with. I had no place to grow it except in myself. And of course, that's where it grows no matter where you are. But to stimulate that growth, to increase it, to be more aware of it on ever deeper levels, we need to have an environment that increases it. Of course, you can only imagine what it was like to live with Master at Mount Washington. There's so many stories that Kriyanandaji's told over the years. Basically, whenever they saw him, they would try to get closer. If he was driving by, they would stop whatever they were doing. Every moment was an opportunity to go well, I might get into trouble here, but I saw this dog on the street yesterday, this mother, and she'd had puppies. And she was walking around, and the puppies were scampering all over behind her. But at one point she just stopped, and then all the puppies, she was standing, and all the puppies came up to drink at the same time. And they were just, and she was, and this is what it was like when Master was there. People would just come to drink the milk of God's presence. And when I came to Ananda, it was the same with Kriyanandaji. It was just, and I personally was a bit of a, in this case I'll call it a milkaholic. I just couldn't get enough of it. And of course there were people at Mount Washington, many of you know these stories, but there was a man at Mount Washington who had pictures of Master all over the wall in his room. And one day Master came in and saw the pictures and looked at him and said, "You should get to know me inside." Yeah. And of course, you know, both sides are true. Master said that the disciples that served him personally, he slept very little. And so they were often up round the clock in teams trying to keep up with him. And he said, I don't know that they complained, but they commented, "Sir, we really don't have time to meditate." He said, "That's okay, I'm meditating for you." Because there is a power in that proximity. There is a power in the presence, the physical presence of the Master. But in any case, Master also said that there's many mice and rats on the property that are not growing spiritually. They live in the ashram, but they don't get it. They are not receiving it. So physical proximity it's amazing to me, but there were many people, probably you could say the majority of the people who met Yogananda didn't realize who he was. And people have often said, well, if Jesus Christ walked down the street today, would you recognize him? No, most people wouldn't. Because most people look only at the outside. And even when they look at the outside, they don't actually see what's there. They see what they expect to see. This is one of the principles of being a spy. You hide in plain sight. Spies always look so normal. They don't look like super thinkers or super, fighters or anything. They're just normal looking. They look average. But underneath something is going on. And in the life of great souls, you have to look underneath. Even if you see it on the outside, we need to experience it on ever greater levels on the inside. I remember somebody asked a question to Kriyanandaji, Sir, who is Master? And Swamiji loved the way he said it. He says, well, I like you said who is Master, not who was Master. Because this is an important thing to understand, that it's not was. Master is not in the past. Master is eternal. This is the difference between a teacher, a guru, and a true Satguru. And even higher, an avatar. Master came liberated, fully liberated. He was an avatar. And he came with a power. And the masters of self-realization have shown, there's many lamps on the street light. But if you've ever seen a lighthouse, the light that comes out of the lighthouse, or in America we have these lights that they shine up for special events, and they're very, very bright. Well, the light that an avatar can shine into this world literally has no limit. It comes down to the receptivity of the people on the planet at that time. Because from the master side, it's God saying, okay, how much milk do you want to drink? Take as much as you want. And each of us has to decide, how thirsty am I? And the strange thing is that even if we've tasted it and we know how sweet it is, this world has a power to distract us in such a way that we can forget so easily how sweet it is. We have to break through. We have to break through the world's, all of the neon signs that in the various forms that they come to us, whether it be family, work, opportunities of any kind. Every good thing, separate from the bad things of life. Take every good thing that you could possibly do in your life. Fulfill all of the needs of every person on the planet. But the fact is without God, it has no ultimate value. Because if you feed everyone on the planet only a meal, tomorrow they're going to be hungry. But if you share the light with them, then you live in the light, you share the light, and that uplifts everyone. I never really realized, because I grew up in a family that wasn't cohesive, how powerful family is. And of course in India today, culturally, family is incredibly powerful. And maybe it's just easy for me to say. I mean, I grew up in a wealthy family. Money means nothing to me. I couldn't care. I supported myself, and I, put my kids through college, and did all of the things that you all have done or are doing. But I couldn't care less. I never thought about retirement. I never thought about having a lot of money. When I came to Ananda, I found an environment that supported what I was interested in, the spiritual life. And I've found over the years that none of the people that I've ever met who had a lot of money were very happy. And my experience of life has been, I've just been happier and happier. Been less affected by the problems of life and more aware of how much God loves me. But what I found is that my ability to help others, to serve others, to live in a beneficial way for others, has been improved because of that relationship. And I was able, because of that, to heal my relationship with my parents before they passed. Because they were just in another universe from me. But eventually, my mother even became vegetarian. She talked about meditation, but she no longer was against it. She saw that this way of life had benefited me, but she couldn't fully embrace it. But what if I had a loving mother? Well, she was a loving mother, but what I mean is that I enjoyed spending a lot of time with her, or with the rest of my family. But they were nice people, but what we say worldly people, people who are talk about and involve themselves in just everyday life, which is not bad. It's not evil, but it's not God. So, what if my dad had been my friend? He was in real estate. I could have just joined the company and, been involved in real estate for my whole life instead of being connected to Ananda, my spiritual family. And what would it have done for them? Think about it from their side. Would I have improved their lives? They would have been a little bit more comfortable. I mean, they would have enjoyed it. But in the end, would it have blessed their lives? You know, when you become liberated, they say that 7 generations behind you and in front of you are also greatly blessed. Actually, they say that they're liberated, but Sri Nandaji didn't think that that was actually the case. But there's a great blessing that takes place when you attune your life to spirit, even if the rest of the family doesn't get it. You know, in America, I know that it must be a problem in India as well. Drugs. People get involved with drugs and they become addicted, and then they can't seem to help themselves, and but the thing is there's alcoholism is the same. There's a point at which you can't make the choice for another person to change their lives. They have to make that choice. And if you don't give them what we call it tough love, say, look, I am going to help you. If you want to go to rehab, I'll pay for it. But I'm not going to give you money to spend on drugs. If you want to spend money on drugs, you've got to go find it yourself. I won't support you in that. But as soon as you want help, let's go. I'll take you. This kind of tough love is very difficult. It tears many families up. People who live on emotion-based, on sentimentality, then they are really torn up by this. And, you know, the truth of life is that we don't know the children we're going to get. We don't know the challenges that we're going to have in our life. But we do know that it's our choice. What are we going to do with the things that God gives us? So, we find ourselves in a family environment, people that we love and we care about. And yet, where are our priorities? Where do we stand when God says, as it says in the Gita, at the end of each day you say, how did I do? Where were my priorities? Who did I give my love to? And the thing is, when we have the love of God, We share it with everyone. Master shared his love with everyone. Not just his, close earthly family, but everyone. And it was fascinating to see. Kriyanandaji was the same. He's just like the same, no matter who he was with. He could be a little bit more himself. He could relax a little bit when he was with people who knew him. But the difference was so small. Really, he was so much the same all the time. And it was interesting to watch. In most environments, when a newcomer comes in, the old people get a little jealous. Because, we want to spend time with Swami. What do you do? Get out of the way. But at Ananda, it was like everybody got that this person was having an opportunity to drink at the fountain. Let them drink. Because we've been drinking. And we're going to drink while you drink. Everybody's drinking. And the more the merrier. And you recognize that where do you drink? Not in front of the body, but in the heart. When our hearts are drinking, when our souls are drinking God's presence, our connection, whatever level that connection is, whether it's 5 horsepower, 50 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower, it doesn't matter. You feel it. When you feel it, you feel that connection, and then you drink. And then you become enlightened. Maybe not fully enlightened, but your spirit is lifted, and that spirit, that upliftment of your spirit, comes into every relationship that you have, even if that relationship is tough love. So when you look at your family, your life, your job, all the fears that we have about what could go wrong in life, everything that makes you feel like uncertain. What is certain is God. God is the only thing that's certain. Everything else is uncertain. So, when I look back and think, well, what was the best thing that I ever did for my parents, even though they thought I was out of my mind, was to come to Ananda, was to become a devotee. They didn't get it. They had no idea. But this is the message that the message of Sanatana Dharma, the message of all of the masters throughout history, is basically, and Jesus, just as one of the guys who happened to say it well, he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And then all these things shall be added unto you. If you want the greatest chance of a happy home life, if you want, even if your family is against it, if you want the greatest chances of success in business, if you want the greatest chance of being healthy, if you want the greatest chance of succeeding at whatever you want to be successful at, seek God first. And don't ever give that up. This was Yogananda's message. But he didn't just say, this is a good idea. He said, and here is how you do it. And this is the fantastic thing. Master came in the 20th century. It was interesting. I visited Epcot Center, Disney Epcot Center in Florida once. And this was before this century, was in the previous century. So they had, computers were quite much newer at that time. And so they had a kind of a kiosk, a station. And you could vote for the most influential person of the 20th century. And it gave listings. Here's the current list, the top people that people have voted for. And who was on the top of the list? I don't remember, but the top 5 was, the President of the United States, a movie star, a sports star, nobody spiritual. So I voted for Yogananda. And I actually believe that Yogananda was the most influential person of the 20th century. And I happen to believe that he will prove to be the most influential person of the 21st century. I think we're just beginning to see the powerful change that's taking place on the planet today. And on the outside, it looks like disaster. But on the inside, people are being changed. Autobiography of a Yogi is still the top-selling spiritual autobiography of all time. And people of many, many different paths have read this book. This is not a sectarian teaching. Yes, we have our own style. But the principles and teachings that Yogananda brought has nothing to do with a church. It has to do with each soul's relationship with God, life, the universe, and how this process works. How to develop this relationship, each and every one of us. And it's up to us to commit ourselves to that relationship. To say, how much milk do I want to drink? How bad do I want it? And what am I going to let get in the way of it? Will you get the car needs new brakes? Will you let that get in the way? Will you let Aunt Sally or Uncle, whoever who thinks that you're doing the wrong thing by going to the temple or meditating every day? What a waste of time. Are we going to let other people choose our lives for us? And the thing is, again, you have to look at what is the end result. What happens when people don't experience the bliss of spirit? They're grumpy. They're not happy. They're dissatisfied. They carry stress. They feel alone. What happens when we feel God's presence in our lives? We feel good. It's raining, we feel good. It's very hot, we feel good. When I came to Ananda, it was a very primitive environment. I lived in the country. And there was a lot of digging in the dirt, trenches, and then we didn't have people to do it for us. We had to do it. I can't tell you how many times we found ourselves out in the rain, in the mud, doing stuff that needed to be done. And anything that needed to be done, we were the ones who had to do it. But what did I find and what did I experience as I lived this life was that people had smiles on their faces. How can you smile when you're digging in the mud in the rain and it's freezing? How can you do that? How can you smile when your bank account is too low and you don't have money? How can you smile when you just found that you have a disease and you've got to get medical care that you can't afford to get? And yet somehow, in some miraculous way, each and every person's life, no matter what happens, people survive. Even if you die, you survive. But most of the time, you don't die. Look how many homeless people there are on the streets here in India. And yet they live. We are never going to fix this world into a perfect place. But we can experience perfection, the perfection of happiness, of well-being, of communion with God inside of our own selves. This is what Master is. Who is Master? Master is God. A channel for God going, I love you. Come on. Let's go have some bliss together. Let's have some bliss together. Let's have an adventure. You're having a life adventure, I'm with you. Let's have more bliss while we have an adventure. This is what God is inviting us to. Is it always easy? No. But what's the alternative? There is none. Suffering. More suffering. And more suffering. When a disciple made a mistake and asked Master, will you forgive me? Master said, what else can I do? What else can God do but love us? God has no choice. That's good for us. We can never be kicked off the team. But if we want to be a player on the team, we have to say, I want to play. I want to get on the field. I want to go out to Kurukshetra and fight the battle and be with God. So no matter what challenges, I remember Kriyanandaji saying that in the scientific healing affirmations that Yogananda wrote, you can find how to approach almost any life challenge. I mean, all of the major life challenges are covered in there. If you just read in there and see what he says, here's the right attitude when you're having this challenge. Because he's telling you, affirm this positive alternative to the negative circumstance. Master has given us the tools and a manual, all of his teachings. And Kriyanandaji has just filled out the library. We have such incredible resources. So I encourage you to, if you want to give Master a gift, it's traditional on the birthday, to give the birthday person a gift. Give the gift of your interest. Have a relationship with Master. Whatever level that relationship is on, deepen it. How do you deepen it? You spend more time with it. It'll work itself out. Spend time with Master. Don't think that you've got to wait. Spend time with Master today and tomorrow and the very next day. Read his writings. Listen to his voice. Meditate deeply and call to him. Have him with you. Instead of having the angel and the devil on the two shoulders, have Master. That's the only one you need. Have Master living with you. Talk to Master. Let people think you're crazy. There is no greater gift than the thing that we can most, that we can really call our own, really, is our hearts, our attention, our love, our caring. Give that to Master. Give your life to Master. Give every problem to Master. And deepen that relationship in meditation, in communion. And you will find that not only are you blessed, but every person in your life will be blessed, whether they realize it or not. Many little children don't realize when you say you have to go to the dentist that you're doing the right thing for them. They know, I don't want to go to the dentist. The dentist is going to hurt. They say, no, you have to go. You have to go to the dentist. But sometimes you say to the child, says, okay, we're going to go somewhere. And they say, I don't want to go. So, well, you don't even know where we're going. So, I don't care, I don't want to go. But once they get there, they go, oh, I'm glad I came. I look back and go, many of the things my parents told me I didn't agree with at the time. I especially didn't like the way they said it. But in retrospect, I have to say, they were actually right much of the time. So the key is to realize that our relationship with God knows more about what we need than we know. So build that relationship. Take advantage of the gift that Master gave us, which is the fruit of his life and the living presence that he offers to each and every one of us if we allow ourselves to be in that inner relationship. Be scientific. Do the experiment on ever deeper levels. And I would be very surprised if you weren't ever more deeply pleased with the results. Namaste.